Hey Milwaukee fans, it's Gordon Seppin with the Power. Not coming to you from Wilson Ice Arena this time, but we are at Steny's Tavern and Grill. And I'm here with, of course, Chase Ernst, head coach of the Milwaukee Power. Chase, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm a little tired after all those wings and maybe a few adult beverages we just had here, but Ryan, the proprietor, owner, just had an unbelievable conversation with us, treated us to some of the best wings in town and maybe a few ice-cold adult beverages, and it's wonderful. I'm glad we're here.
With this coach's show, we kind of wanted to touch on a couple different things, but mainly kind of the post-draft. But in order to do the post-draft, you have to do the pre-draft, which is tenders. And I know a lot of people don't know what a tender is, so what is a tender in the NA3HL?
In layman's terms, Gordon, a tender is a mutual agreement between the organization and the player at hand, who at that time is a free agent. So essentially what the tender process allows is us to recruit and scout those players that we feel would be good power players on and off the ice. It allows those players the same opportunity to evaluate and to interview us, the organization, to see ultimately if we're worthy of their services. Therefore, a tender is put in place that assigns that player's rights to our organization, takes them out of the free agency pool, and ultimately eliminates them from being drafted in the NA3HL draft.
So a good tender class, 9 tenders, started off with goaltender Ty Barnhill, and then from the NA3HL showcase, you got Cole Cook, and you got a local kid actually coming back in, Alex Goder, whose mom was actually a billet parent for us this year. When you look at the tender class, what kind of sticks out to you?
I like the fact that we have a lot of veteran-laden players with good junior hockey experience, elite, high-level AAA, Tier 1 experience, elite, Tier 2 AA experience, and we also have a very regional feel to some of the players that we have in that tender class. We have definitely made a tremendous presence inside our local community, but also inside the state of Minnesota, inside the state of Iowa, inside the state of Illinois, inside the state of Michigan. All of those states that ultimately have good hockey players that fit the Power brand, the Power mold of what we're looking for, are starting to find us, and we're starting to find them, and it's reflective in who we're tendering.
Are there any tenders in your mind that stick out that can make a really big impact this next season?
I think in particular Ty Barnhill, who's a local kid who has junior experience in the NA3, also in the USPHL. He is a poised young man who brings his best version to the rink every single day. That is going to be somebody that we need pushing. Aaron Dickstein, who is our returning veteran goaltender, who was one of the best in the league. So Ty consciously knows the situation that he's in, knows that character, quality person, not just player, is going to be needed in order to push Dickey and to hopefully challenge for that #1 spot. And another good addition in the tender class was Cole Cook. You mentioned him earlier in regards to a big, strong, physical, puck-moving defenseman who has logged a lot of games inside the junior hockey level, is going to bring a real strong presence every night to our blue line. Excited about that. And then we do have a kid named Alex Goder, as you also mentioned, who has familiarity with the program because his parents were billet families for one of our players last year. His mother this year is also our billet coordinator. He spent the previous 2 seasons playing in the USPHL, gaining valuable junior experience within our state. It's nice to be able to bring a kid like that home, per se, for his final year of junior hockey. But more importantly, he's a good player. He's somebody that's going to be in our lineup 47 games. He's going to give us consistent minutes. He's going to bring a veteran presence and leadership to our room, and ultimately he's going to impact the culture.
One other tender I want to touch on real quick before we move on to the draft. Forward Wesley Knutson. Good high school player inside the state of Wisconsin. What do you think he'll bring to the table next year?
I think Wes is going to be a tremendously impactful NA3HL player. Obviously, if you just looked at his stat line, it's tremendous what he was able to accomplish. Point production off the charts. He's a big, strong bodied kid that has the frame to be able to put more muscle on, more strength inside that frame. I am very excited that Wes is going to be somebody that, given the opportunity to elevate his game because of the junior environment and what it allows for a player and a person like him to commit every day to their craft, his trajectory is going to be immense. And I am expecting very good things from him on and off the ice, and I know that he is ready to live up to those expectations.
Talked about the tenders, now moving on to the draft. Now in the draft, again, 14 picks, a couple of forwards. Not to say that there were more D than forwards, but definitely a heavy emphasis on the D-man.
So we really took a little bit more of the blue line approach from the draft standpoint in regards to identifying those players that we felt knew about our organization, started to have some trust and confidence in us, but because we met them late in the process, they fit more of a draft pick model for us. And therefore, some of the players like Mitch Olson, a tremendous veteran-laden defenseman who has junior experience, who wants to be here, was able to draft him high on our draft night, and going to be somebody that I feel, if he ultimately contracts with us, is going to be somebody just like Cole Cook, just like Ryan Payne, just like Alex Goder, is going to be a staple of our lineup every night and going to bring something very good every single night to our defensive blue line. Matt Metza is a local kid. He plays for Kettle Moraine High School. His pedigree is tremendous with his brother, Zach Metza, being a player that has United States Hockey League, British Columbia Hockey League, now Division I at Quinnipiac, hockey pedigree. The apple never falls far from the tree. Matt is a senior. Matt is a player who has the ability inside the state of Wisconsin to utilize our program as a before and after place to play, wrapped around his high school season. Another player that comes to mind who maybe was off the radar of a lot of junior teams, but was definitely on our radar because of the proximity of where he is to Milwaukee, and that's Trent Kmet, a player who played on a USA Hockey National-bound Tier 2 Kenosha Comets team, 60 miles south of our city. A kid that brings a tremendous amount of character and ethic to our organization. He's a blue-collar kid, has always had to fight and scrap for every opportunity that he's gotten in this hockey world. And that aligns exactly with the type of signature that we possess and the type of player that ultimately we can provide now an opportunity for him to play at the next level.
Now that the draft has passed, what's the next stage for the Power as far as the hockey ops side?
Right now, from a hockey ops standpoint, we're going into recruiting phase mode. Just because the tender deadline's over and the draft has happened, we now enter the free agent market. So there are a tremendous amount of players in this country, in this world, who are going to be at various events. NAHL open tryout camps, NAHL main camps, U18 NAHL Top Prospects Tournament, that's taking place next weekend in Blaine, Minnesota, where we have one of our power players, Ryan Payne, being represented in that tournament as one of the best young players in our league, going up against other top young players in other leagues inside our country that hopefully will produce junior players in the future. So our next 3 months is really busy with getting to those types of events, working those camps, digging for more of those diamonds, and having more of those lengthy, in-depth conversations with players and family, selling the vision and the reality of what the Milwaukee Power is. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we will have a main tryout camp July 29th through August 1st at Wilson Ice Arena in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I hope to have 40 invited-only players made up of returners, drafts, tenders, and free agents at that camp, ultimately competing for 25 roster spots, which will be finalized September 1st.
Well, Chase, thank you for joining me, and thank you, Steny, for having us. It's been great to be here, get a little bit of lunch. It was a little bit of a late lunch, but gotta love, putting back. What do you think? About 30 wings each, something like that?
Well, depending on who's watching this, I gotta watch what I say. The reality is I had a salad and a few glasses of water. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, I think that does it for us, Chase. Thank you for joining me here again at Steny's, and thank you, Steny's, for hosting us. The wings were great, but you were good and had your salad and your water and whatnot. Be on the lookout. Coming up, we'll have our first contracted player, and that'll be kind of the next phase we roll into, along with recruiting free agents. Is contracted players will be coming out. So those are guys that are committing to the Milwaukee Power for next season.
Correct. Yes. Be on the lookout for that. I anticipate within the next week or two, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 players coming on board.
All right, well, that does it here for us at Steny's Tavern and Grill. We'll see you next time on the Coaches Show.